So I think measuring the true value of your app campaigns, that's, I think it's much easier said than done these days. And what we are going to talk about today is why that is, how the industry has shifted and what the implications are, and what it is that we are doing and what you can be doing to overcome these challenges. So our goal is to make sure that you're educated on the industry changes, as I've just said, on Moloco's forward-looking measurement values, as well as giving you some tactical actions for you to take so that you can be better prepared for overcoming what we think is a very challenging time for marketers. So let's get started. A bit about me and Moloco, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. So I've been with Moloco's for 1 year now. I'm the VP of EMEA, and before that, I spent 7 years at AppsFlyer, and in total, I've been in this industry for 12 years, app promotion space. So have been to this conference and have many familiar faces. But before joining Moloco, I obviously tried to do my due diligence and try to understand what this company is about. And I saw this sudden rise of a company over the past 2 years. And when I dug deeper, obviously, given the fact that there's many players in the market that are where we would say there's funny business going on, I wanted to make sure that this is not happening. And after joining, I was pleasantly surprised that the values that we had at AppsFlyer were very much met when it comes to actually creating value for the ecosystem. Doing what's right is something that is valued very highly, and you'll see that in our product decisions and how we want to tackle and approach this in particular. So Moloco, we were initially MLC, machine learning company, and then the O's were added. But for people in this audience, what we're best known for is our app performance DSP. We help app businesses find new users in a profitable way. That's what we do on a large scale, as you can see. And these are show-offy numbers, but really what's important is that given that we're performance focused, this couldn't be done if we don't drive value to our clients. So that's why I think it's still relevant to show. And it's also obviously good to get external validation for what we're doing. And these are some of the recent validations we got externally. But now let's jump to the actual topic. I'm showing in news articles, but it's not really news, right? We all know that bad ads are pervasive. They're all over the place. I particularly like that meme, which shows the sun and Mercury and then a finger and an X button, because that is the direction that our industry has been taking. But users are fed up with it. The media has picked it up. It's not New York Times and Wall Street Journal. And this poor user experience is impacting the entire ecosystem. Users, publishers, and also you, marketers, struggle with the outcome of this. And I'll show you a bit more why this is. So there are two main driving forces that have been playing into this. Let me see if I can. There we go. Huh? No? Interesting. Okay. But you all know what an impossible to close X button is. Unfortunately, you probably have experienced it yourself. And you've seen multiple end cards pop up. You'd close one and another one pops up and you close another. And I have the situation where my kids ask me to download funny games and they can't actually play the games because they're stuck in this endless loop of ads. So we're all familiar with that, and that's been going on. So misleading creatives that are hard to exit without actually creating a click. And then we have this new phenomenon, which is App Store rendered ads. And what happened here is that since Scan was introduced, there's obviously been some also new ad formats with SK overlay where a small banner overlay is popping up, and then AutoStore where the full store experience is popping up on top of your ad, which is actually very good for user experience. You don't have to leave the ad. But what happens in the background is because this would only be registered for scan reporting in order to ensure that probabilistic modeling can still be applied. There are clicks being fired in the background. And so there's an erosion of what actually is a user click. And I think that makes it very difficult because fundamentally what marketing is about is driving user action. And if you don't know whether you are successful doing so, then it makes your job difficult. And what it's also doing, it's inflating click-through rates and CPAs and ROAS because what you're doing is capturing additional organic as well as competitor-driven installs in these cases. So when we look at it from a timeline point of view, we have what we call the fat thumb era, where both just creative improvements, so actually marketers doing a better job in improving the situation, driving click-through rates up, as well as some of these misleading creatives that I showed you earlier. And then something happened, which is iOS ATT enforcement, with the new formats that I showed you, and that really kickstarted additional clicks being fired. And the fact is, it's actually this was happening particularly on iOS, but now we've seen the same trend happening on Android. So click-through rates have reached insane values up to 100%. And you might be good at your job, but you're probably not that good that you can create an ad that gets 100% clicks. And yes, so very difficult to distinguish between a real and a forced click. And this clicks arm race impacts the entire ecosystem. So you have users that are complaining. You have publishers that are getting poor ratings because users are complaining about it. You have a bottom example. Can't play too many ads that won't let me go back to the game. It's very, very frustrating. And then marketers, we've spoken about the challenge of how difficult it is to actually understand the value that you are driving. I mean, numbers will look good in the short term, but in the long term, you might be struggling to hit your goals if you're going down a path that is corrupted by data. And And so given that this problem is spans the entire ecosystem, and it's very messy, I think it's pretty clear that change won't come easy. And there's a problem here because there's really strong game theory considerations that are happening, whereby if I, as an ad network, want to act in the best possible way, I might be penalized because I'm competing with a race to the bottom when it comes to these practices. So advertising platforms want to look good, right? And so they have to play this game. Exchanges similarly also need to help their publishers monetize. And for publishers, there's definitely short-term increased revenue here. And so it's a very, very deeply entrenched problem, and a lot of incentives that are making sure that this is still staying in place. And when it comes to how do we overcome that? I think it just requires a collective effort. And I don't want to talk on it's so far it's been quite depressing what I've been saying, but I promise you we'll get past this together. And I think that's the key. So what are we doing about it? So I'll share with you how we approach this. So there is we have two design philosophies when we go about building products and how we think about it. We want, one, transparency, and two, control. So we want to make sure that we provide all the data that we have, which we feel is the advertiser's data. We provide this at the most granular level possible, and that we show when a user click happened versus when it was a click that was fired in for other reasons. And we want to make sure that the advertiser has full control over the ads rendering, as well as the attribution logic and the level of aggression that the advertiser wants to apply. And then what we do really importantly, we go out, we educate, and we meet with our partners. And we're super proud to be part of AppsFlyer's enriched engagement push. They, a couple of weeks ago, announced it, and we are part of the launch partners. It's going to be hopefully released in Q1, early Q1, where more transparency will be given to advertisers, going beyond a simple view and a click. Because as we've seen, a click is simply not just a click anymore, and we need to get much more granular when we try and make sense of this. And this is just the beginning. We need much more work to be done. And then when it comes to product solutions, we're developing products that enable advertisers to make these choices that we said earlier, as well as enabling attribution and incrementality as much as possible. These are complex. Getting incrementality right is very difficult, but we're investing quite heavily in making sure that our advertisers can see the true value that we're delivering, or incremental value. And now onto what you can do about it. Any one of you who's out there acquiring users for multiple channels is faced with the challenge of being able to compare apples to apples. And having this measurement parity is crucial. And so what we are saying, and I'm going to go into a bit more detail, is you need to review your existing channels. We'll tell you how to go about that. Investing in incrementality, because a bottoms-up last touch attribution will only get you that far. And then if you have the capacity to go even one step further and build a bespoke measurement solution that fits your life cycle, your app life cycle, your financial model, and the way that makes sense for your business, given your technical capabilities. Okay, so first step, reviewing existing channels. I believe that if you see a click-through rate that is greater than 10%, and you will see that across the board, you should be asking questions. And it's absolutely perfectly fine to say, when are you sending a click? When aren't you sending click? What's happening when you show an iOS SK overlay? Do you fire a click or not? And go much deeper and let your partners explain to you how they are behaving. Because this will vary greatly by partner, and it makes sense for you to understand that when you're working and you're investing in that channel, to understand what their philosophy is. So asking questions and approaching it with curiosity, I think, is key. And then the second step, the good news is that incrementality tests are not impacted by the clicks arms race. So what incrementality does is it tells you how users that have seen an ad, regardless of whether they've clicked, have been exposed to an ad, whether they have had a positive impact. And on the flip side, users that if the user wouldn't have seen the ad, what would have been the outcome? And therefore you get an understanding of the lift that is provided. The problem is that there are many different ways of doing incrementality. I'm seeing Pan in the audience, and Remerge, they've been doing a lot of work for many years speaking about incrementality, and they've invested very heavily. And so, for example, if you run an incrementality test with one network and you're using ghost bids, and then for the other using placebo ads, it might yield very different results. So figuring out what the approaches that you can apply across the board, potentially working with external providers. MMPs are moving in that direction, but there's also other players out there that are making incrementality testing much better. That is an area where you should be very much invested in and thinking about how you can understand the value that each channel is driving. So I just spoke about it, getting this right is very difficult. And what we are offering is, if you need some support to go beyond, then we are very much committed to helping you figure out how you can apply a measurement framework that we believe is fair and transparent, and you can take that and use that and work with your other channels to find out if if they're actually delivering the value that you need. So while we won't fix this overnight, you definitely can be the driving force in your organization to make a change and actually starting to distribute and allocate your marketing dollars in the most optimal way. And what you need to do is, the first step you've done, you're in this room, you're educating yourself, you're speaking to peers. This is really important. Secondly, spread the word, find allies within your organization, the data scientists and so on. The CFO should be very interested in this topic, and spread the word. Okay. Once you've done that, you review the metrics, you apply extreme curiosity, as we've discussed, and then lastly, you test continuously and you learn and you test different incrementality methods, and you develop a habit of looking beyond the superficial and not looking at CTRs and CPIs and CPAs and ROAS, just taking it for face value. You're becoming the detective that goes a step further because you know that the game is rigged and you want to be better than your peers. And lastly, obviously, we're here to help you at any stage of the journey. So thank you very much.